All right, guys, welcome back to Cybertruck One. This is one of the biggest and coolest upgrades we've done so far, and one of the ones I've been looking forward to the most. This is a Torklift. They make Torklift tie down. They make many different styles, and I'll explain to you why I have this one. But the reason why I want these, I originally had these straps you see here, and the straps were working essentially fine. I will say the one strap, the working load was about 850 pounds, and so I wouldn't mind increasing that. Now, mind you, with the camper we had so far, we never had a problem, and we did some serious things. We were at over 22-degree angles going up in the mountains of Telluride. But anyway, I wanted something that was just more reliable, less likely to break. The way these systems work just get me a little nervous, but at the end of the day, it was fine. But I'd had such a great experience with the Torklifts before. I used to have an F450 with an Eagle Cap 1165, the biggest truck camper they make. It's about 5,000 pounds. It was a Super Duty F450 King Rancher that I converted to super singles. Anyway, I had a set of these on there, although they were slightly different. They were called fast guns, which had a handle that you would ultimately tension them up. These are a little different. They're a little narrower, and that's because we're going to be inside the camper as opposed to out. So let's take a look and let me explain what I'm talking about in the first place. So in most truck campers that you'll see, there'll be a bracket that comes out in the back and one sort of in this general location that is connected to the frame. And essentially, now this would be longer, of course, but the brackets would be something like this, or this rather. Anyway, you get the idea. There'd be a hook here, an eye hook here, and you'd mount it here and you'd tension it down with that handle. Same thing on this side. With the Cyber Phoenix, we'll do things a little bit differently. Some truck campers, especially smaller ones, you can mount on the inside. And so essentially what's going on in here is there's going to be one of these little guys like this inside here. I'll show you, and like this inside here. And along right here inside the Cybertruck is an L-track that we're mounting to. And we'll go discuss all the mounting and how secure everything is, but we've certainly increased our capacity of strength. Furthermore, one thing I want to tell you about the older style truck camper that I had, and the reason why these are so good, is there's a spring mechanism inside. And so this truck is a pop-up and is low, and its center of gravity is low. But some of these big, massive ones, like that 1165 that I had, that thing, like I said, was 5,000 pounds, but it was also 12 feet and a half, 12.8 or so high, and it was very top heavy. And so when you would lean back and forth, the camper could rock. And what happens is, if you do this really hard, you could essentially rip one of the mounts. Either it'll pull from the camper or pull or bend or break something from the truck. So these little shock absorbers in here, these springs, flex a little bit and give you a little bit of grace. That's not so critical in our case because we don't have so much weight and we're a lower center of gravity, but it's one reason to use this thing. One other thing I want to say, I'm doing this outside because once we get inside the camper, it's a little tough. But since these are smaller and fit inside, there's no handle. You're just going to twist these. I have to pull this pin. So basically, once I get it on either hook, I'll go like this, and it'll get tighter and tighter, and eventually there'll be a little gap right here. And when that gap is, I think, is about 1/4 inch, you can see a little line inside where it spreads. Once you have that, and if you can see here, you line up these little notches. You then stick this pin in here, and that essentially locks it and sets it in place so that it can't move when you're going down the road and it's shaking. All of a sudden, it's not going to unthread itself and loosen up and fall off. So let's go inside and check this out. Bear the mess here, but we have the tops of the seats and the table off so that we can put these mounts on. Now, there's 4 of these. 3 of them are currently mounted. The only one that's not mounted is this one, so I could show it to you. But essentially, we take the seats off, we open this up. Each truck camper is different. I don't know how every smaller truck camper that has internal mounts. Some of the internal mounts you can actually do from the outside, but in our case, we can do it from the inside. And so basically, hard to see. We're gonna have to just take some stills, but this will go in just like this. And I always will put this side. This is the side that's spread so I can see, and this is the side where you put the pin in. So of course you don't want it going in the wrong way because then I can't reach it. But I'll go inside, I'll hook that. So on the L track, we have some US cargo double stud mounts. Those I think have a 2,000 pound working load. This tie down is also 2,000 pounds. Now the Cybertruck L-Track is a little unknown. It's definitely not 2,000 pounds, and by the more circles that you insert on your mount, the more structural integrity and strength you'll have. But we feel very confident. We're not too worried, particularly since we've already done some testing and had zero problems running this truck pretty hard, doing some serious things. But anyway, I would suggest that that's probably the weakest of all the connection points, but it's still more than adequate. This camper weighs about 1,600 pounds or so, maybe a little bit more. And from inertia, when you stop and go, it's really not 1,600 pounds. There's mathematical calculations that tell you what you can do, and I can assure you that we meet those guidelines. Anyway, I won't be able to do this without sticking my head down there, but essentially I'll put it in, and then I'll lock it like this, and then I'll twist it, tighten it up. And what this will give me the ability to do is not only do these things work really well, and they're really strong, and they're not going to break, and we're not going to have any problems, but when we want to take the camper off, we just come inside here, pull the pin, unscrew these a little bit until it's loose enough, a couple inches, and then take them off the hooks, and then bring them inside, lift the camper up, and when you put it back down, you can secure the camper rather quickly. Anyway, that's about it. We have not really tried these just yet, other than some basic performance testing around town, but you get the idea. We also have 4 points. So we'll look in here too, you can see there's a point right here of the truck camper, one here, and of course that's what I was telling you, they each go in a different direction. And one thing I can explain to you too is basically what you want to do is you want to have your the angles of these things. First of all, you're supposed to shoot between 30 and 40 degrees. We're probably closer, we're right on one and maybe slightly closer on the other to 30 on the other side. But you want to, on the front one particularly, you want to have it on an angle where one, it's going to hold the camper from lifting up, right? So the flatter we have the turnbuckle, okay, the tie down, the flatter it is, the better resistance and strength it's going to give you horizontally. So you jam on the brakes or accelerate or whatever, it's going to give you a lot of strength. It's not, if it's perfectly flat, it's not going to give you up and down. And so you want to have both. That's why we have it on an angle. And that's why the front one is very important, because we don't want air hitting the front and then lifting the camper while you're going down the road. Now on this truck camper, that's not so important because we have a pop-up and our coefficient of drag and our aerodynamics are really, really good. But if you had a big, huge truck camper with 5 feet of surface area, you certainly want to have this thing tied down properly. Anyway, if you want any information, this is the Apex IXL. That's the one I use for internal, for a smaller version for what we needed, but they have all shapes and sizes. You can go to the Torklift site. I have all kinds and we'll have all kinds of information in the description. And we'll be enjoying this upgrade. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you at the next one.